This is your last lesson for the week. This one may end up being the longest one because I just want to make sure you have enough examples to really know how to work through all different types of problems. But lesson E is where we really start to put it all together. And so we're going to be presented with different information about a line, and we're going to be expected to write the linear equation. It's going to be very important that you read the directions for each problem to see if there's a specific form of the linear equation that you're expected to write. I will be honest, I forgot to put that in the notes, but for the notes, we're going to go through writing them all in slope-intercept form. So, you're going to be presented with a variety of information about a line, and you're going to need to determine which form of a linear equation is the best to write. As long as you know or can determine the slope, and you have information regarding at least one point on the line, you have all the information you need. Whichever form of the linear equation you choose to begin with is going to depend on the information given to you. So if you are given the slope and you are given the y-intercept, the easiest way to write the equation is going to be the slope-intercept form. The names kind of tell us what we need to know. And for everything that we're doing, we're either starting with slope-intercept form or point-slope form. So if you're given the slope and a point, you're going to start with point-slope form. Again, based off the information you have, you know which form to go. So point-slope form. Keep in mind though, sometimes you're going to need to start with point-slope form when you're given 2 points, because with 2 points you can calculate the slope so that you'll have the point, a point, and the slope. In this class, I said it before, I'll say it again, you will not start by writing anything in standard form. So none of these have to be written in standard form at the start or at the end. And as a reminder, that if the directions ask you to write the final equation in slope-intercept form, we can do that by solving for y. So we can solve any equation for y, puts it in slope-intercept form. So let's look at our examples. The first example, write the equation of a line that passes through the point 2, 1 and has a slope of -1. So we have a point, whoops, that was not underlined very well, and we have the slope. So if we have the point and the slope, we want to start with point-slope form. So we're going to need this information and that information to plug into point-slope form. I will tell you one way that is going to help you to memorize these different forms is to write the form of the equation out before you start plugging in numbers. So if we're starting with point slope, let's start by writing y minus y1 is equal to the slope times x minus x1. If you write that enough times, it'll be committed to memory. So now let's plug in the values we have. Y minus the y value of this point, which is 1, is equal to the slope, which is -1, times x minus the x value of the point, which is 2. If you had directions, which you will on your quiz, that you needed to put the equation in point-slope form, you would be done at this point. But if you have directions that say put it in slope-intercept form, we're going to need to solve this for y. We're going to start by distributing the -1. So this is going to become -x plus 2. And then the last thing I need to do to get it solved for y is to add 1 to each side. And the nice thing about going from point slope to slope intercept is you always distribute first, and then you move the number that's added or subtracted from y. So there's consistency there. So y is equal to -x plus 3. That's in my slope intercept form. The line with slope of -1 crosses the y-axis at 3, and that's my final answer. In this next example, I don't already have the slope. All I'm given are 2 points on the line, but if I have 2 points on a line, I can find the slope. So we're going to start by finding the slope. So m is equal to the difference in the y values, so 5 minus -1, divided by the difference in the x values, so 4 minus 1. When I subtract a negative, it becomes addition. And now I simplify. 5 plus 1 is 6, 4 minus 1 is 3, that fraction simplifies to 2. So the slope of this line is 2. So now I have 2 different points to choose from, and it does not matter which point I choose, and I have this slope. Pick whichever point makes you happy. In point-slope form, the equations can look slightly different depending on which point you pick, but the slope-intercept form, they'll all work out to be the same. So I'm going to pick the point 1, -1. Or actually, in the written notes, I picked 1, -1. For this, I'm going to show you that I'm going to get the same thing if I were to pick the other one. So y minus y sub 1 is equal to the slope times x minus x sub 1. And I'm going to pick this, and I'm still going to get the same equation in the end that's in the notes key. So y minus 5 is equal to 2 times x minus 4. Again, to solve for y, I start by distributing. So 2 times x is 2x. 2 times -4 is -8. So y minus 5 is equal to 2x minus 8. You need to move the 5 by adding it to both sides. These cancel out. And y is equal to 2x minus 3, which is my slope-intercept form, and that is the exact same equation that you'll find on the notes key when I use the other point. Last 2 examples. This one says write the equation of the line that passes through the point 12, 5, so we have a point, and is parallel to the line y equals 2/3 x minus 1. So now we have to pull what we learned from lesson C. If I know that 2 lines are parallel, I know that they have the same slope. So I know that the line that I'm trying to write the equation for also has a slope of 2/3. So again, point and slope, so we're starting with point-slope form. So y minus y sub 1 is equal to m times x minus x sub 1. My y value is 5, my slope is 2/3, and my x value is 12. Now I distribute. I'm going to move that 5, and I will be done. 2/3 times x is just 2/3 x. Nothing to stress about. 2/3 times -12. Remember, this is the same thing as 12 over 1. So 2 times 12 is going to be, I'm going to put this down here, so we just have to worry about the numbers, not the sign. 2 times 12 is 24. 3 times 1 is 3. 24 over 3 is going to simplify to 8. So 2/3 times 12 is just 8. Then let's finish copying this. So now I need to move the 5 by adding it to both sides. Those cancel out, and I have my slope-intercept form of y equals 2/3 x minus 3. And that's my final answer. In the last one, again, we're writing the equation of the line that passes through a point, so we know the point. It's a pretty good indicator we're going to be doing point-slope form to start off. And this time, it's going to be perpendicular to the line y equals 1/2 x minus 1. So perpendicular lines have opposite reciprocals. So the slope of our line is going to be -2 over 1, which is the same thing as just -2. So we have a point, we have the slope, we're going point-slope form. Now, all of these examples, we've started with point-slope form. It's not always going to be the case. A lot of times it is. Every once in a while, you're probably going to come across a problem where you're given the y-intercept and the slope, and sometimes those are thrown in there. They're easier problems because you can go directly to that slope-intercept form, but it's almost like they trick you because they're so easy. So just pay attention to the information given. All right, so we're plugging in. The y value is 3, so y minus 3 is equal to -2, which is our slope, times x. And in this case, it would be minus a negative, so x plus 2. We're going to distribute and get -2x minus 4. And now we're going to move the 3 so that we're left with y is equal to -2x minus 1. And that's our final answer. So those are all the notes for this week. A lot of them were review. This one I know is a lot of new information, so definitely probably want to spend a lot of time practicing these sort of assignments where you're having to put everything together. And then there's no mastery check on this lesson, but this is going to be on your quiz. You're going to have several questions like about writing the equation from various information on your quiz.